outside? Should I run and hide? How do I take my company worldwide? Do you love the law? Did you watch Hee-Haw? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw? What's it like in court? Favorite sport? Can you help with my book report? Is my hair too long? Am I right or wrong? And do you mind if I sing along to anything? Ask Alan anything in the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Ask Alan. I'm Alan Crone, CEO of the Crone Law Firm. And with me today, it's my pleasure to have Ken Hardison, who is the founder and president of PILMMA. And I'll let him introduce the organization, but Ken is a big friend of my firm and a mentor of mine, and has really helped me and countless other lawyers navigate the last year, but not just the last year, but our future and building our law firms. Ken, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Ken, tell us, before we get to the meat of it, tell us a little bit about PILMMA and what you try to do for folks.
Yeah. So PILMMA is a powerful, innovative legal marketing and management association. So what we try to do is help lawyers grow their practices, but also it's about profits and, more cases, more profits, but more freedom. Quit working these 60-hour weeks, get down to like 40, 35 and be able to take off, a month if you want to, and things still keep clicking. So there's a lot to that. Most people come to PILMMA wanting more cases, but then once they get the cases, they don't know that. Then they need our help on how to build the infrastructure to handle it, and systematize it.
It seems to me that med schools and law schools in particular, maybe even pharmacy schools, don't do nearly enough to teach folks how to run a business.
No, they don't. They teach you, they teach you the law, and they teach you how to think. That's my deal about how to analyze, analytical thinking. But as far as how to start a business, how to run a business, or how to market a business, or how to grow a business, no, they don't. They just, I guess they just don't have time in those 3 years of trying to pump so much law into you. But the deal is, I see that. You're right. Lawyers, doctors, are some of the worst business people in the world, and the ones that do get it have very successful practice. And what I found is you don't have to be the best lawyer to have the best practice. I mean, I'm living proof of that. I mean, I think I'm a good lawyer, but I'm not a great lawyer when it comes to lawyer. And I think I do really good work, but I'm not F. Lee Bailey or Johnny Cocker or anything like that, And I built 2 7-figure law firms and sold them before age 52. Yeah. And then I retired and then started PILMMA,
So how did getting in the Wayback Machine? How did you get interested in law to begin with?
Yeah, that's funny, because when I was in high school, I thought I wanted to be a CPA because I really like numbers. And it's weird. I saw some things that happened in my family. My dad, and he had a 4th grade education. My mother had 8th grade, and they really got screwed around on some deals. And they did the best they could, believe me. And but my dad did hire a lawyer one time, and I saw what he could do for him, and I said, I like that. And plus, I wanted to own my own business, and I was sitting there looking at it, and I was poor. I said, what can I do to start my own business? Because you got to have money to start businesses, right? But not really doctors or lawyers or CPAs. And I said, I hate needles, so I can't be a doctor. And CPA, when I took the course in college, it really was boring to me. I like numbers, but not those type of numbers. I like, ROI and stuff like that. But when it gets down to just monotonous work, I mean, praise the CPAs. They've saved me a lot of money over the years, but I don't think I could do it day in, day out. And so I chose law. I mean, I really like the idea of helping, and it was a good way to start my own practice. I knew I didn't really want to work for other people. I had worked for other people ever since I was in 8th grade, and I wanted to be my own person, own my own business. And that was, when I got into it, I really loved it, because when I went to law school, I thought I was going to be a labor lawyer. believe it or not. And then I clerked with different law firms, and I just really picked up on, I really liked I liked criminal and I liked injury. And I did a lot of that. And then I just got to where I was doing injury work and workers' comp. And I've done a little bit of everything. I've done government contract work. I've done wills and estates. I've done real estate. Hate real estate, but I've done it. I like to buy and sell real estate, but I hate going searching titles and all the contractual work. But I've done a little bit of everything. I was in a small town, 10,000 people. So it's not like being in a big city like Memphis or Raleigh or something like that. That's where people specialize. But back in 1982, when I got out of law school, you know, you pretty much just hung your shingle out and threw an ad in the yellow pages and did some networking and try to build your practice up, you know. But you really, you couldn't just live off of one thing in a 10,000, you know, population town. You couldn't just say, I'm just going to go out and do PI work. You would starve. There's not enough wrecks in that town, you know.
Sure.
And there's not enough criminal cases. So we had to diverse. So I did everything except bankruptcy. I never did any bankruptcy and never did any immigration, but I've done, I've done incompetency hearings. I've done, like I said, criminal DWIs and tried jury cases in felony court and loads and loads of Social Security cases and workers' comp. And did little small corporation work for family businesses, you know, stuff like that. Just a hodgepodge of everything. But I saw real quick that where everything was going. The doctor started getting specialized, and I said, you got really to make money, you got to get specialized. You can't keep up with all this stuff. It's malpractice. You just can't keep up with 10 or 12 areas of law, one person, not be that great. You know, you just can't keep up with all the laws, what they're changing and everything. So kind of settled down on the injury law, and after about 12, 14 years, I started doing that.
How did the light go off with you about the difference between practicing law and being in the law business?
Yeah, it was by accident for sure. Here's what happened when I got out of law school. I opened up my own practice, and then I went with this firm across the street, and they made me a partner after, like, I've been out of law school 1 year, and it was like the oldest law firm in town. So it was a really good honor. And I built my practice up every year, just word of mouth, you know, grassroots, just little stuff, nothing real big. And we grow about 5-10% a year. And that was from like 84 until about 93, 94. I started level off. About 95, it started going down. I said, well, wait a minute. I'm a lot better lawyer than I was 10 or 12 years ago. I get a lot better results. I know a lot more people. What's going on? I mean, this is going the wrong way, you know, and I you know, and my clients love me, so I know they want it. And so I went to court one day, tried DWI. Guy walks in on crutches, and I don't remember his name, call him Joe. And I said, what happened? He said, I got T-boned by a transfer truck. I said, well, you know, I handle those cases. He said, yeah, but I saw this guy on TV, and I figured if he's on TV, he must be really good. So I hired him. And that lawyer was a good marketer, but he wasn't a good lawyer. He never tried a case, and I know to this day, he still never tried a jury case. But he's got one of the biggest law firms in the state of North Carolina now, because he was a good business person and a good marketer. So I went and tried a DWI, won it, walk out of the courtroom, I go back to my office, and I sat down with my two partners. I said, we got to change with the times. I said, you know, and I used to sit back in the courtroom too, waiting for my case to be called for DWIs and stuff, because I did a lot of those. And all the lawyers were back there complaining about these damn TV lawyers, you know, all this advertising, it's unprofessional, and they're taking our business. And one day I just stood up, I said, well, y'all can moan and groan about all you want to. I said, I'm going to do something about it. I said, you know, you got to change with the times. But my partners didn't want to do it. And we had that dialogue for about 6-8 months, and I just left and went out on my own and didn't know anything about anything. And so I started going to reading a lot of books, going to different marketing things and business things that had nothing to do with law practice, because there really wasn't that much out there back in 96. And then I picked 2 or 3 really successful lawyers across the country, and I called them up and asked them, could I come down and shadow them for 2 or 3 days? And believe it or not, they were glad to do it, because I knew my competition in North Carolina won't tell me how to do it, and I understand it. I mean, it's business, right? I mean, I probably, I understood that. And I got a lot of good insight there. And so then I decided to, that's when I decided I'm on market. And then what happened was I went and borrowed as much money as I could borrow from the bank and went on TV. And I went from signing up 20 cases a month to 120 in like 30, 60 days. It was like crazy. You couldn't do that now because competition, but it was just easy, man. It was like, but here's the bad part. I did not have any infrastructure set up, no case management system. And I didn't have enough help. And we were just, it was a chaos. And so I had to kind of cut it off for a couple of months. And I went out and found this lady, thank God. Her name was Cheryl Leon. And she's still living. In fact, she's having a hard time of it now with cancer, but she had helped build one law firm in North Carolina up pretty good, not as big as some of them, but some marketing stuff. And she was really good on systems. And we got together and she helped me immensely in setting up systematizing my law office. And I read a book called Myth, the E-Myth by Michael Gerber. She told me, she said, you read that, start with. And so that and her, and then she ended up started dating this guy who was a former IBM executive manager. And he was really good at management. I mean, he just taught me so much about core values and different things and ROI. And so I had those two people for like the first 5 to 7 years mentoring me. Then on top of that, I was doing everything I could in the world about marketing. And I tried. Half the time it wouldn't work out. And I'll be honest with you, I'd waste a lot of money. But then when sometimes I'd hit something, man, and I'd just wear it out. I mean, and it just, I went from like, when I left, I started that firm in '96 with 2 lawyers and 3 staff. And 6 years later, I had 13 lawyers and 47 staff, and we were killing it. I mean, and that's the way it happened. I mean, it was kind of by accident in a way. And in another way, it wasn't because I'd had enough. I mean, I could see the writing. Listen, if everybody wouldn't market, I'd be all right with it too. I mean, as long as it's a fair playing field, I don't care. I remember one time North Carolina was going to outlaw or ban direct mail, and I stood up there in the deal. They had a big meeting. I said, I'm fine. I said, do away with it. I said, as long as everybody will do away with it, I got no problem. I'll stop doing it. I said, it don't matter to me. I just want an even playing field. I mean, give me an even playing field, and I think I can figure it out. I'll work hard enough, and I'll figure it out. I got to do what I got to do to win. I'm a winner. I don't like to lose. I'm very competitive. You hadn't figured that out by yet.
Sure.
So that's the deal. I mean, it's kind of a crazy story, but then again, it's not really if you think about it.
Well, and I think a lot of lawyers, and I'll put myself in this category, 5, 10 years ago, a lot of lawyers think that there's one secret to business, and there's really about 5,000 secrets to business, isn't there? I mean, it's not just one thing. You've really got to look at your whole operation.
Yeah. It's just like marketing. Everybody's looking for that silver bullet. And if I figured, if I knew it had it, I'd be a billionaire, because there is no silver bullet. There's a bunch of little things. When I sold my law firm in 2010, we were doing 32 different things to market that law firm. And some of them cost zero, and some of them we were spending hundreds of thousands, but we did them all because they all work together, and it's just little stuff. But no, there is no one thing that's like that. And it's like management. I mean, it's just so many little parts working together. I mean, you got to have good hire right. You got to train right. You got to have systems, processes, procedures, accountability, KPIs, return on investment, case management systems. You got to be looking at your cash flow. I mean, no wonder not everybody wants on the business. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot to keep up with. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, and then you get something like this COVID hit, and my God, what are you going to, you got to think quick. You got to pivot. I mean, you got to plan for ahead. I mean, I mean, that's like when COVID hit, I just automatically started this whole coronavirus survival kit and just made it free for everybody, and just kept doing weekly deals and bringing in experts and talking about going remote and talking about, I had you on it, talking about what you're going to do about these people on leave and what can you do, and how can you manage these people remotely? How can you hold them accountable? All this kind of stuff. I mean, people just didn't know. I mean, and but by doing that, I got a bigger following. My website hits went up probably 30% for those 3 or 4 months, right when COVID hit. And we picked up some new members. We did it for free, but I mean, the deal is we had to pivot. I mean, I know some law firms, they had to pivot. Some of them that were doing criminal work just dried up. They had to start going out, figuring out how to do expungements, and, criminal lawyer, I mean, domestic lawyers thinking about, these child custody issues with COVID and whether or not you can take them over there and not take them over there and all this stuff. So you just got to think outside the box. I mean, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of moving
I think
parts.
law firms can take a lot of cues from the restaurant industry. I know here in Memphis, there are restaurants that, and I've talked to the owners, there are a lot of restaurateurs who say, look, if I can't do things the way I was doing them in 2019, then I just soon go out of business. And then you have some restaurants who say, okay, I can't have people in my dining room. How can I make money without people in my dining room? And they figure it out. And I think a lot of law firms are doing that right now. They're saying, I'm going to keep my head down until things get back to normal. In the meantime, the practice of law is moving past them.
Yeah. In fact, I mean, it takes things like this. I think you're going to see a lot of big changes in the way things are done after this. I mean, I know for a fact, I've got some PILMMA members who were getting ready to buy or either upgrade, enlarge their office space. And no, they're not going to do that now. They're probably half of their workforce is going to be remote. The half that could be productive. Mm-hmm. There's some that just can't do it. There's some that actually were more productive out of the office. So it was all over the place. So yeah, I see a lot of things different. I mean, I see a lot more people sign up without coming into the office. A lot more it's Zoom. Wish I'd bought the Zoom stock back in February. I mean, that has changed the deal. I mean, and I had to learn how to use. I didn't know how to use Zoom when all this started, and I had to do it. And because I was meeting with our mastermind members every week for the first 10 or 12 weeks until they quit showing up. I told them, I said, I'll be here for you. Because, it's when this stays on, you don't really know if you're doing what's right or what's not right. I mean, you don't know. You can't, even if you're the smartest guy in there, the deal, or woman, the deal is you're not 100% sure. So you like to get that affirmation from the other lawyers across the country. So that was a good deal. Just having those meetings. A lot of times it lasted over an hour. It was just, hey, this is what we're doing. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay, well, good. Well, then we're doing it right. Or I won't do it this way, but I will now. Things like I hadn't thought about that. Just whatever it might be. But yeah,
right.
So,
well,
we had to pivot. I mean, we had to pivot. I mean, but restaurants, the guys that don't change, they'll die. I can tell you that. It's just like that law firm I left. One of them, after about 2 years, he was gone with the DA's office. And the other guy just pretty much, I mean, he was still practicing, but he was like, and he didn't really have to. He had plenty of money, so it wasn't a big deal, but thank God. But I mean, he pretty much went down to one staffer and him, but they never would change. You know what I mean? And that's okay. I mean, that's okay. But there's what is it? Consequences for every action, inaction. There's consequences. You just got to. You cannot rest on your laurels, and you cannot, and their big objection. I understand it, it's unprofessional, but it is a business. You could be a professional. It's a professional business. Listen, I market a lot, but I never run what I call mills. And I know some law firms that do, but I never ran a mill. My profit margins weren't as big as some law firms, and I knew that, but I did the extra stuff for the extra client service, and I slept a lot better, and I got up in the morning and I felt good about what I was doing, and, to put the client first, and, it worked out. It worked out really good. So
What's the
I
biggest,
got no regrets.
what's the biggest innovation that PILMMA put in this year that you think will live beyond COVID?
PILMMA itself.
Yeah.
Well, I think two things. The two big deals was that we launched a vendor directory for vendors, and I had been thinking about it, but we just never had time or whatever. And you know, it was a good. I knew it was a good money. I mean, as far as profit center, but you know, we're so busy on everything else, so we jumped on that to make up for some lost income. And then the other thing I think that you'll see all over the country with people that put on events, you'll start seeing them be hybrids. I think you'll start seeing where there'll be live streaming, because people are getting used to that. And our next event, we're going to have it in June the 23rd, 22nd through the 25th at the Ritz-Carlton in New Orleans, and we're going to have it. In fact, you're going to be speaking there, my friend.
I'm going to be speaking. That's
and
right.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. So y'all listeners need to come down there and listen to Alan. He always is a showstopper, and we got him out there on the first day. I put my good speakers on the first day, so you're out there on the first day, and it's like starts on a Tuesday, ends on a Friday at lunch. Starts at a Tuesday on lunch, and we got about 27, 28 speakers, and they're talking about marketing and management. And but we're going to run it. We're going to do live streaming too. I feel pretty confident now that by June the 22nd, that there'll be enough vaccines out that if people want to come to New Orleans, they can. Because I've been very, very cautious about this. I'm scared to death of it today. I know a lot of people aren't, but I am. I'm overweight. I'm 65. I smoke. I'm the high risk, and I just, you know, like I said, I got a lot of people depending on me, and I just, you know, I've been real careful about it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have not flown anywhere since February, and I've only driven to the mountains twice, and that was to a place my wife bought, and no visitor, just me and her there. And you know,
I think that's smart. And
and
I know that you,
yeah,
I know that you follow a lot of law firms. What do you think has been the biggest change in the legal industry that will outlive all of this?
well, I don't know if it's just because of this, but some things that's happened this year that I think is going to make some big changes over the next, I'm not going to say next year, but over the next 3 to 10 years. Some stuff that's going on in Arizona, California, Utah, is the non-lawyer ownership of law firms, and it's coming. I mean, you can do it now in Arizona. And I don't think it's going to be as big a deal as everybody thinks it's going to be, but it's going to be a big deal. It depends on what kind of firm you got. I think that the big transactional firms, they're going to be hit by it. And I think the big PI firms are going to get hit by it. I don't think that the domestic practice, and I might be wrong, but I think the deal is, it's going to be like, even if you are affected, it's going to be like when Walmart. Do you remember when Walmart really started growing? I remember that in our town, when Walmart came to town, some businesses didn't make it. You know, they just didn't. They couldn't compete with the price, and they didn't offer anything else, which comes back to my big deal. And I tell everybody this: never compete on price, because you'll never win in the end. Kmart's went out of business. Circuit City went out of business. When you are price only, you will lose sooner or later. Somebody will undercut you. So you've got to differentiate yourself, or you know, on something where it be service or something unique. And the ones, if you go back and look at the mom and pops that actually made it, they pushed something different than price, and they stayed there, and they beat Walmart, and they still survived it. And I think you'll see law firms the same way. If they are not really good at differentiating themselves and standing out and offering something a little bit different than these big conglomerates, it's going to be the big law firms. then, you know, that's just like now. I mean, you got really big PI firms, really big, these big, you know, 500 law firms that deal in stuff that you do, Alan. But the deal is, you still got a good business. They're not taking it off because you offer something different. You offer that personal touch, or whatever it is that you got that kind of stands you out. And people, you know, and every time, everybody, I'll be honest with you, I don't always want the cheapest guy, because I feel like I always feel like you get what you pay for. I'm not saying I want the most expensive guy either, but I'll get worried when I get somebody that's cutting the price real low. That tells me that maybe they're desperate, and maybe I don't want to do business with somebody that's desperate. And I think lawyers, and listen, when you start out practicing, it's about impossible not to do. I mean, I did it. I mean, you know, and turn down cases. It's two things. You want to get the cheapest you can get, and you want to not to turn down anything. You just can't do it. You know, it's going to kill you. But you got time, I guess, when you first start out. You got much business, so you can deal with it. But, you know, yeah. So I think,
you know, in terms of price, I always say right now there's somebody buying somewhere in the world, somebody's buying a $1,500 handbag. And it's not because that's the cheapest handbag they can find. It's because they see value in it, whether it's the logo or the craftsmanship or whatever it is. And then the other opportunity I see with the non-private or the non-lawyer ownership of law firms, I see two benefits for guys like us. One is it gives you a market to sell your practice when you want to retire, a much bigger market than you had when you retired. You had to kind of create your own market by building a firm and then selling it to the folks that were coming up behind you. That's kind of the classic way that folks have sold law firms. And the other is it gives a whole source of capital when you're competing against the big PI firms, or you're competing against the insurance companies or the pharmaceutical companies or whatever. It's a whole new source of capital. And so, and you make a good point. You can either look at that and say, oh, the sky is falling and, you know, it's just woe is me. Or you can figure out, okay, how can I use this to my advantage? And
the deal is, you need to prepare it. Listen, any business you start, there ought to be an exit strategy, whether it's selling it or retiring or turning it over to your kids or whatever it is. You know, I've never started a business yet that I didn't have selling it as part of my end game plan. Now, when sometimes changes, but if you set it up and run it like a business and got good processes, procedures, and a good list, you're going to be a lot more attractive to somebody that's got the money to buy you than just running a mill like everybody else law firm that just, they don't really know. They just know that they get paid so much, and they look at the end and, well, we got this much pop, you know. But you know, and there's no strategizing or no planning, or, you know, no KPIs, no, you know, no planned growth, and no infrastructure. But yeah, I agree. And in fact, I said I was doing a podcast and we were talking about that. I was talking about that with a lawyer, and I said, you know, you're right. I mean, it is, but I think it's I think the deal is it's not going to be as big a deal as everybody thinks, because I studied this years ago. They did it in Australia, they did it in England, and it, you know, only like 17% of the law firms got bought up by the hedge fund money. It won't, you know, 83% of them are still private practitioners. They were going after the ones that were run like a business, and they saw some potential that they could infuse some more cash in it for more marketing, that they could grow it even more, because the infrastructure was set up, you know, everything was set up right. And they knew, you know, it's like I said, they should tell the TV guys, you know, listen, yeah, why can't you spend more? I said, if I had it, I'd spend twice as more. I said, but I can't spend what I don't have, right? You know, I could put all my profits back into it, but I could still grow it faster if I had another $1 million this year. But if you ain't got it, you ain't got it. And the problem is the banks don't like to loan money to law firms, because there's nothing they can go and repossess, because your clients can leave overnight, right?
Right.
there's nothing they can sell at the courthouse doors. And that's changing a little bit. I'm seeing some money out there, but the problem is interest rates are so high that it's hard to make the deal work. I mean, so it's still tough. I've seen some, I'd say now lawyers that want to sell their practices, they need to get in shape, but they better, if they really want to get top dollar, they're going to have to finance some of it to another lawyer. I mean, I sold two. I was lucky on the first one. I financed 100% of it, and the second one I got 100% cash. A lot of big difference in numbers. I mean, the first one I sold 4 or 5 times more than I did the second one. But the guy that I sold it to had cash. He had a multi-million-dollar law firm, and he could write me a check. That don't happen a lot, And he probably wouldn't have bought the other one I had. He probably didn't have enough cash to buy that one. But I'm seeing deals now. I'm hearing deals now where, I mean, I know personally, and I can't name no names. I know personally where a law firm has been offered like 38 million for their law firm cash. Now, there's got to be some hedge fund money or some kind of investment money going in that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think you'll see more of it. And I think the baby boomers, I think it's a great opportunity, to be honest with you, if you're in your 40s or early 50s, to go out and buy the law firms, because you got all these baby boomers like me in their 60s, mid 60s, early 70s, they're ready to get out of it. And the big deal is they might stay along a little bit while they just don't want all the headaches.
Right.
So if you could buy it from them and get them to finance it, and they stay there as a figurehead for a year or two, I see it as a golden opportunity. That's another way to grow your practice. I mean, it's the fastest way. You think about it. I mean, so I mean, I mean, that's you look at the big corporations. I mean, Google, they're doing it all the time. Facebook, they're gobbling up other, they go back. Google bought YouTube. You see it all the time. I don't see a lot of law firms doing that. We've got a few out there that are doing it, but not many. And that is a way to do it. I mean, but you got to have the capital, right? That's the problem.
That's right. That's right. I just lost my train of thought. That's an interesting idea. Strategically buying firms and for expansion, either geographic expansion or whatnot. How did you go from being retired, selling your practice into doing the consulting? What was what was that?
Yeah, that's another one of the things just happened. Yeah, I sold my practice in 2010. I moved down to Myrtle Beach from Raleigh. And I moved down here because, number one, it was within 2 hours of my mom, a drive. They had like 80-something golf courses down here. I love to play golf, and they had water and ocean. I love the water, the ocean. I love to fish. So I said, this is a great place. So I went down there and I played golf about 6 months and got bored. People were calling me all the time, wanting advice on this and that. And I said, I need to start making money off this. This is crazy. And I said, I'm getting bored out of my mind, because I like to build things. But then once I get them built, I get bored for the most part. PILMMA maybe be an exception. But, and so, I had already started PILMMA, but PILMMA was sort of like a little hobby. It was more of something to play with. And I got real serious about it. And, so we started masterminds, and I started doing consulting work, and we had a membership. And, it just really, it's grown, I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar business now. I mean, I didn't set it out to be, but that's just the way it worked.
You were a pioneer in this sort of thing. I mean, when you started it, I mean, now you look around and in my inbox, there's always, half a dozen PILMMA wannabes.
Yep. Everybody's out there. They see other people do it. They think it's easy to do. It's just like practicing law. It's not as easy. It's a lot easier. It looks easy, but it's not. And that's the deal. That's the biggest problem I have right now is everybody's copying everything I do. But that's okay. They say that's flattery, right? They used to do that when I practiced law. When I come out with something that worked, and I'd do it within a year, 3 or 4 law firms be copying it. But I'd already be, I've always been trying new stuff. So I guess that's a good form of flattery. But, there was one other lawyer that was doing this, and he's still doing it. And I think the world of him. I think he's smart and good. I got nothing but great things to say, and that's being Glass. But he just really focuses more on marketing. He called it great legal marketing, and he's good. He studied under the same people I did, Dan Kennedy and Bill Glazier. That was probably his two biggest mentors, mine too. So, I can't say that we're different in a lot of ways. I built a lot bigger law firm than him, I think. I don't know. I haven't asked him how big it is now, but and I sold out a lot quicker. He's still practicing. But he's got a good outfit, I think. But now you got all these non-lawyers getting into it. And that bothers me a little bit, but you know what? It's free market, so be it. It makes me better, right? It keeps me on my P's and Q's. I'm always trying to think, like I said, I'm very competitive. So I'm always, like this last year, we launched the roundtables for the staff members, like for management and for marketing people. I started the ghost calls for my masterminds. I went and got certified as scaling up coach with Vern Harnish and the Rockefeller Habits. So, and I'm big on continual learning. I don't think you ever know it all. If you think you do, you're in trouble. Once you think you got it figured out, you're in big trouble, because you should never have it figured out. You never will have it all figured out if you're honest with yourself. I still learn stuff every day.
I think the biggest challenge for a guy like me is to figure out who's the snake oil salesman.
Yeah. Well, here's what I say, and this is what I say with vendors. I tell all my people with vendors, and it's hard sometimes, but one or two things: give me a guarantee, or either have me a bailout clause after 90 days. And I don't care who it is. If they don't feel good enough about what they're selling or offering you, have a bailout clause in the first 90 days. So that bothers me. And I told that to somebody. I told that to a vendor. I said, that bothers me. I said, it tells me you don't have confidence in your own deal, in your own work. And I understand with SEO it's a little harder because you got to give them longer to do it, and I understand that. But other than that, I really don't see anything. It's just like with PILMMA. We're the only one out there that offers, you try us in 90 days, 100% money back guarantee. Every summit I've done, I've offered 100% money guarantee after the first day. In fact, we got a deal now, Alan, that we say if you join PILMMA for a year, and if you haven't grown 25%, it's free until you do. So, I mean, that's when you can stand behind something. I think that tells you that. I'm just being honest. I think that tells you that the people, that, and there's going to probably be somebody take me up on it, because I can't control what they do, right?
Right.
So there's going to be somebody that takes it. I haven't had anybody take me up on it yet. And in 11 years, I've had one person ask for a refund. So I feel pretty good about it. But yeah, you're right. But I think that on anything, if people ain't willing to stand behind us, or whatever it is. And I understand, like a domestic lawyer, you couldn't stand behind, you got to get your money up front, or don't, and I understand all that. But as far as vendors and people do what I do, why not offer, give them a taste of it and give them the money back? Why do you want? Here's what I tell everybody, I mean it. They think I'm, kid. I don't want your damn money if I'm not helping you. And I don't think it's my fault, but it don't matter. If it's not helping you, and it's not helping you, why should you be paying me money for something not helping you? I mean, I just think to me, that just makes sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I mean, a lot of people say I'm crazy, but I think it works for me. I mean, and it shows them that I'm not trying to be a snake oil salesman. I really believe in what I'm doing. And if I want to help, if I can't help, then I really don't want the money. Because that's one thing about, I don't know a lot of things, but I can always figure out a way to hustle up a little bit of money somehow. I ain't never had to worry about that. They ain't rich by any means of imagination. Don't claim to be rich, but I've always been able, very streetwise, to be able to get out there and hustle up some money when I needed it, and do it the right way. I've never had to. I ain't saying I've had my ups and downs. When I was running that PI practice, man, we had some cash flow problems, unbelievable. But I always made it through. I never bounced a check, and I always made my payroll. But there was bad times. Ain't nothing easy, especially if you're growing fast, that's when you see a lot of cash flow problems, and that can kill you. You know, I do this presentation now. I learned from scaling up, and it really is good on how you can. And that's, hey, anybody wants to go to my PILMMA.org, PILMMA.org. I've got my profit calculator up there where you can sit there and say, if I raise my fee by 5% and I cut my expenses by 2% based on my numbers and my P&L, I can generate another 20% profit. And you can sit there and play with it. It's absolutely free. It's in the non-member resources. I got some stuff there that is free. The coronavirus survival kit's free. We got a bunch of stuff on that. And then we've got some things that people really like that got a big turnout for, and I put them on for freebies for people that are not members, so they can see what we do, and play with it.
Yeah, Ken hasn't asked me to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I can tell you, I've been a PILMMA member, I think 3 or 4 years now, and participated in a bunch of different parts of his program. And one of the really great benefits that I think you get with the gold membership is his resources. And he's got webinars going back years and all kinds of different. I have yet to have a business problem where I couldn't at least start there to begin to figure out how to undo it. So that's another benefit I think PILMMA has, is it's been around, and Ken's been around a long time. And it is what the Farmers Insurance, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. You've seen a thing or two, haven't you?
All over the years, even, and this is not what I experienced, because I tell people I've made about every mistake a man can make trying to build a law firm, and it cost me money. And then I've helped so many other law firms, and a lot of times I help them before they make mistakes, and then sometimes I help them pull out of it. So it's like I've helped a lot this year. Maybe I had my self-worth go up this year. I can say I made kind of been a down year for cash flow, but I feel like my self-worth's going up. I feel like I've helped a lot of lawyers that just didn't know what to do. And maybe they didn't know what to do, but they just needed somebody to say, go for it. You're doing the right thing. Now, sometimes you just don't know,
Well, I know a lot of lawyers that, they know when to take that chance in court, that question that a lesser lawyer may ask or not ask, and they've got the confidence to make that decision. But in business, you're just always, you're out on an island. I mean, you look around, I don't know about everybody else, but I look around and I see everybody seems to be doing so well. And, they've all got good facing exterior postures. But the truth is, everybody is having the same problems. And it's good to get that affirmation that, hey, the idea I've had is a good idea. And if I just have confidence in it and execute it, I'll be fine.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another thing, Alan, that vaults, we got it set up where you can just search it, and we got webinars and all the articles in the magazines that we've done. We do a magazine every month, about 40, 50 pages. But I tell you what, members really love that listserv, because if they're talking to a vendor, it's like a little chat thing, but it's like a string, and you say, hey, what do you think of anybody ever did business with this vendor? And you'll see sometimes, great, give them a high much regular. You see other times they'll say, hey, run. They're only going to do is take your money. They don't do a damn thing they promise. And I think that's saved. I think that one thing has paid for a lot of people's membership from not making them, like you said, knowing who the stakeholder people are, because a lot of times, and not every time, but I'd say 90% of the time, if you put something on there, you're going to get some response from somebody, because we got so many lawyers in it, and most of them are same boat. They're trying to figure out ways to grow their practice, and so they're buying the same types of deals, the same services. I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen it.
What do you think? What do you think the biggest fool's gold out there for lawyers is, in terms of business? That people think, oh, if I just do this, it's going to change my life.
Gosh, that's a good question, Alan. Well, there's two or three. I think one thing. I think if you just throw money at something, it's going to make it happen. That's crazy. Because you got to think strategically about where you're going to place your money, and thinking that you can just buy one or any one thing that's going to help you and make the difference is not. But
I'll tell you what I think it is.
what do you think? Because I mean, that's a hard one for me.
I think the worst specious lie is that there's such a thing as passive income. That that there's a way to make money without working, or there's a way to solve a problem without really working through the problem. And it kind of goes to what you're talking about. You can throw money at a vendor and say, okay, and it really doesn't matter whether it's SEO or marketing or consulting or whatever. And if you think all I got to do is give this person $10,000 and she's going to solve all my problems, it just don't work that way. It just don't work that way. Now, you can have somebody that can help you, but at the end of the day, you gotta work and you've got to make it happen.
Listen, that is the difference. That is the difference between those that make it and those that don't, Alan. The guys that make it big is that I go back to this all the time, is that they implement. They have focus and discipline to get shit done. Because I can tell you all this stuff to do, but you still got to do it. And the biggest deal that everybody wants it done for them, but how you gonna? There's some things you can't get done for you. You got to do it yourself, or you got to, you can't hire somebody to be a leader of your law firm. You got to be the leader of your law firm. I mean, you've got to make those big decisions. And you got to hold people accountable and make sure stuff gets done. That is the biggest, that's the biggest. And I here's what you hear, and your listeners or viewers are going to know what I'm talking about. This is what I get all the time. Well, Ken, I just don't have time. And here's my answer. You make time for anything you really want bad enough. So do you want this bad enough to do it? And you might not. Listen, I give you an example right now. I want to lose weight, but do I want to lose weight long enough to do what it takes to do it? Not quite yet. I'm being honest. I know I need to. And I think that's the same thing with lawyers, in that they know they need to do this stuff or whatever it is, but they're not hurting bad enough. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're not hurting bad enough to do it. And then when they get to that point, maybe it's too far gone. But the deal is, I tell them right to start when they join PILMMA, if you would just set aside 2 hours a week and work on your business, you're going to see so much. I said, but the deal is, if you just say, I'll do it, you got to actually make yourself a point with yourself. And if you don't get bothered at the office, go to the damn library or go to your home office or whatever, and lock yourself up for 2 hours a week. If you would do that and focus that time and not daydream, I promise you, and just take half of what I teach, 1/10 of what I teach, you're going to see big changes, upward changes. But the deal is, it's so easy to say, I just don't have time, kid. I heard that last week. I'm gonna get around to it. I'm gonna try to get to it this weekend. Well, no, you're not gonna try to get around to it. That's why I like that. In our strategic attorney coach program, which we're finishing up this month, a year-long program. And the deal is, in fact, I actually hired another coach, Alan, to come in and be nothing but have weekly meetings just to push people to get the stuff done. In a nice way, but have some accountability. Just like you got to do it with your staff. People respect what you inspect. That's what a wise man told me one time. But that's the big deal. I think that is the biggest difference in those that are highly successful and those are just average. Is those people are so much focus and discipline that they get stuff done. I say it every summit. When people walk out there, I'll ask them, how many of y'all got 5 things? How many of y'all got 10, 20, 30? I have people with 40 things they want to do when they get back. I say, well, look around, because only 5% of you, maybe 10% tops, going to do anything with it, because you're going to go back, be all jacked up, and then you're going to get busy. Life's going to get in the way, and that's a shame. But that's the way it is, And I don't think I'm the smartest guy, but I think I'm real I'm real focused and I'm real laser. Like I perseverance. I don't take obstacles. I don't let nothing get in my way if I go for something, you know. And listen, I've had some things go bad. Everything I touch don't turn to gold. I mean, I've had some people call them failures. I call them expensive learning experiences. You know, I've had my share of them, but the deal is not to make the same mistake twice, you know, and then just learn from that. And when you get to an obstacle, don't say, well, I can't do this because of this. Say, how can I get around this?
Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want.
That's right. That's right. That's a good one. I got to remember that one.
I've lived my life by that.
That is a good one. That is a good one.
Well, Ken, I looking at my watch here, I think our time is up, but
Yeah.
I sure appreciate your time and your comments, and I hope everybody listening enjoyed it. If you've been listening and you enjoy it, please forward this or share it. If you saw us on social media, email it to a friend if you got an email with it. Send me an email if you have a question for me or there's anything I can do for you. Ken, again, thank you so much for your time. Good luck, and I'll see you, if not before, I'll see you in June, but hopefully we'll be traveling before then. Absolutely. And to everybody else, I say, have a great 2021, and I'm going to go out and get some justice.
There you go, buddy.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Alan.
I'll see you.